My name is Athena Sinclair. I am 34 years old. 3 months ago, I flew 18 hours to attend my sister's wedding. When I arrived at the venue, my very own parents stopped me at the door and told me to leave. Family only. My mom said, "You weren't invited." I stood there in the dress I selected 2 months prior and looked at my mother's face that revealed no guilt, no remorse, just closed doors. I signed every single vendor contract for this wedding. Every single one. My name, my credit card. I paid the deposit months ago and never thought of it. 3 days later, she called. Not to apologize. She called about a bill, $38,000. And what I said next, she didn't expect it. Before I continue, please take a minute to like and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy the story. Also, please let me know your location and local time in the comments below. I would love to hear where you are tuning in. Now let me bring you back to last November, the day my sister announced her engagement. It was Tuesday evening in London. November rain beating against my window. I got a call from my younger sister, Brooke, 26, freshly graduated, still living 10 minutes away from my parents in Cedar Bluff, Tennessee. I answered the call. Brooke's smiling face filled the screen. Behind her, I could see our mother, Diane, doing something in the kitchen. "Brooke, I'm engaged." She squealed and flashed the ring. "Garrett proposed last night at the vineyard. It was perfect. I felt joy swelling inside of me." "Brooke, that's amazing. Congratulations." "Thanks." "Garrett's family is so excited. The Caldwells have already offered their barn venue. Can you believe it?" I knew the Caldwells. Everybody in Cedar Bluff knew them. They owned the biggest auto dealership chain in 3 counties. Garrett Caldwell was the youngest child in the family. He was polite, handsome, and he came from real money. "Mom, say hi to Athena." She tilted the phone towards the camera. Diane appeared. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hello, honey. Amazing news, right?" "Absolutely. I'll start looking for a flight. When's the date?" There was silence. Diane glanced at Brooke, then back at me. "Oh, don't waste money on a ticket. It's just a small wedding." "Mom, it's my sister's wedding. I'm attending." "Well, we'll see." Diane straightened up. "Anyhow, there's a lot of things we have to plan. I'll let Brooke fill you in." Diane vanished from the screen. Brooke kept chatting for 10 more minutes about flowers and color palette. I listened and smiled and took notes, but something heavy was sitting in my stomach. This was the first time in 2 years that I had a reason to go home. I should have paid closer attention to how hard my mother was working to prevent me from doing just that. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Diane, not from Brooke. Diane on a Wednesday afternoon, meaning it was morning in Tennessee, and she had to wake up early and think about this. "Athena, we have to talk about something practical." "Sure. The venue requires us to put down the credit card to hold the reservation. You know your father and I. Our credit is not great after that refinancing, and Brooke is fresh out of school. She doesn't have the history yet." I leaned back in my desk chair. I already knew where this was going. "The caterer needs the same thing," she continued. "And the florist and the photographer? In total, we have 4 contracts. All we need is someone with good credit score to sign. You will do your sister a huge favor." "How much are we talking?" "It all comes to $41,000, but you would put down $3,500 as the deposit. The rest will be charged after the event. $41,000 under my name." "Mom, that's a lot of money." "It's not your money, Athena. It's just your name on the paperwork. We will figure the payment out after." I've heard this phrase before. When I was 22, I co-signed on a car loan for my father. It took me 3 years to untangle that from my credit report. When I was 28, I sent $4,000 wire transfer to my mother in an emergency, and later found out it was Brooke's tuition for a semester. But this was my sister's wedding, and I was the older sister, the one with the stable job, the good credit score, and a London salary. "All right," I said, "send me the contracts." I convinced myself that this was what family does. I signed every document without even looking at the fine print. During the following months, the wedding plans were finalized, and I watched them from the outside. Brooke created a group chat called Caldwell Wedding Crew. I wasn't added to it. I found out about it when she accidentally forwarded me the message for that chat, with the picture of bridesmaid dress options with the caption, Vote, ladies. I wasn't one of the ladies. I called Brooke twice to ask about the dress code, the seating arrangement, whether she needed me to prepare a toast. The first time she promised to get back to me. The second time she let the call go to voicemail and texted an hour later. Super busy with planning. Talk soon. I called Diane to ask whether there is anything else I could do for my sister. She said, "It's all taken care of, honey. Don't worry about anything." I never received any kind of invitation, neither printed nor digital. But I convinced myself that it was okay. I was the sister. You don't send an invitation to your own sister. She's family. She's automatically included. Then 2 weeks before the wedding, Brooke posted a photo on Instagram, a rehearsal dinner at some restaurant in Cedar Bluff. Brooke in a white sundress surrounded by bridesmaids, Diane beaming next to her. The caption reads, "My whole family, my whole world." I stared at that picture for 11 minutes. I counted. I wasn't there. I haven't been invited to the rehearsal dinner. I was ready to make a call to ask why, but I talked myself out of it. Maybe the rehearsal was just for the wedding party. Maybe they just assumed I couldn't make it to town early enough. Maybe I was overthinking. I set my alarm clock for the next morning. I was getting ready to fly there. I asked for a full week of paid time off. I have only 20 days a year and I just used 5 on this trip. My round-trip flight, London to Chicago, Chicago to Nashville, cost me $1,400. The hotel in Cedar Bluff, 4 nights at the only halfway decent hotel in town, $680. Bride's wedding gift, premium knife set she mentioned once during random FaceTime session, $720. The total expenses before I even landed in Tennessee amounted to $2,800. Somewhere above the Atlantic Ocean, on the first leg of the flight, I took out my phone and opened Notes app. I was writing my toast for weeks. 2 minutes of speech on how my sister used to make me play wedding games with her stuffed animals when she was 5, and I was always assigned the role of the priest, never the bride. I thought it was funny. I thought people would laugh. I rehearsed it twice with my headphones on and whispering into my scarf, so the passenger in 14C would think I haven't lost my mind. After landing in Chicago for the layover, I sent a text message to Diane. "Just landed in Chicago. 1 more flight to go. Can't wait to see everybody." 40 minutes of waiting. And then right before boarding the Nashville flight. "Okay, busy. See you tomorrow." 5 words. No exclamation mark. No safe travels. Nothing about being happy to see me there. I stared at the screen as the gate attendant called my boarding group. I was tempted to take a screenshot of it and send it to my friend Leah in London with the caption, "Is this weird or am I crazy?" But I didn't. I put my phone away and boarded the plane, convincing myself everything will be fine after I arrive there. 18 hours of travel. 5 words back. I checked into the Magnolia Inn at 9:30 on Friday night. The woman at the front desk smiled at me and asked if I was in town for the Caldwell-Sinclair wedding. "It seems like the whole town knows about it." "Yes," I said. She said, "How lovely. You must be a friend of the family." "Something like that," I replied. The room was tiny but very clean. I hung the dress in the closet. Navy dress from a boutique in Covent Garden. I placed the wrapped knife set on the desk, propped my phone against the lamp, and called Brooke. It rang 4 times and went straight to voicemail. I texted Diane asking how I should come to the venue tomorrow. 1 hour of silence. Finally, she texted back. "Ceremony 2 p.m. That was it. "No, come earlier. No, let's grab breakfast first. No, your father wants to see you." I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at myself in the mirror. I flew 18 hours, spent almost $3,000 and signed $41,000 worth of contracts. My mother couldn't tell me anything more than 5 words and a time. Last time I was in Tennessee was 2 years ago at my grandmother's funeral. Diane hardly spoke to me then either. She spent the entire service whispering to Brooke and greeting neighbors. At the reception afterwards, somebody asked Diane how many children she has. She said, "Just the one, Brooke." I was standing 6 feet away from her, holding a plate of potato salad. I ironed my dress that night as if I was preparing for a job interview, which somehow I was. I was auditioning to be part of my own family. I set the alarm for 8 and switched off the lights. I couldn't sleep. The wall in Magnolia Inn was thin, and the couple next door was watching a game show at full volume. But it wasn't that prevented me from falling asleep. It was the calculation. $2,800 I spent on this trip. $38,000 still pending on my credit card. 6 years of sending money whenever Diane called me about a new crisis. The water heater, Brooke's car insurance, the property tax deficiency. I never counted the amount. I was scared to. But there I laid in the dark and counted something far worse. The calls I never received. The birthday text from HBD at 11 p.m. Or the birthday texts not coming at all. The Christmas I tried to video call and nobody answered because they were at the Hendersons' holiday party and didn't mention it. The graduation pictures on Diane's mantle. 3 of Brooke, 0 of me. If I continued in this fashion, continued to pay, continued to show up, pretend that the silence didn't sting, what would I lose? Money. No, I would lose myself. I would be the woman who buys her own seat for Thanksgiving yet is assigned to sit with the kids, the woman who writes checks and gets footnotes. But today I decided to believe once more. Perhaps tomorrow would be different. Perhaps Diane was simply stressed with the wedding. Perhaps Brooke was just swamped with the last-minute preparations. Perhaps tomorrow when I would walk in, my mother would give me a hug and say, "I'm glad you're here." Perhaps. I set the alarm and told myself, this is the last time I will show up expecting something they never gave me for free. Tomorrow I will discover if hope was enough. I closed my eyes. The sleep came slow and thin. Saturday, 1:45 p.m. Meadow Creek Barn stood on 12 acres of grassy land outside of Cedar Bluff. White fences, lights hanging between oak trees, gravel road with mason jars and wildflowers that led to the entrance. It looked like a magazine spread. I parked my rental car at the end of the lot. 30 to 40 cars were already there. Pickup trucks, sedans, a couple of luxury SUVs which screamed Caldwell money. People milled towards the barn in groups, holding their programs and adjusting their hats. I straightened my dress, picked up my gift box, and walked toward the entrance. My heels sunk slightly into the gravel road. The air smelled like freshly cut grass and barbecue coming from somewhere behind the barn. I saw my father first. Frank stood next to the barn's double doors in a rented suit which did not quite fit him. He was shaking hands with some older man whom I did not recognize, likely another member of the Caldwell clan. When Frank looked up and saw me, he changed immediately. The pleasant smile disappeared. His eyes widened and narrowed, then moved to his feet. He did not wave to me. He did not move toward me. He turned and walked inside the barn. I kept walking. 15 yards from the entrance. 10, 5. The double doors opened from the inside, and Diane walked out. Mother wore a mother of the bride dress in champagne silk. Her hair was perfectly done, her makeup was flawless. Her jaw was clenched hard. She stopped right in front of me, with her hands crossed in front of her, not offering anything, not inviting anyone. A barrier. Athena. The voice was low and controlled. "Hi, Mom, I'm here." She did not hug me. She did not step aside. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for Brooke's wedding." "Mom, you must leave now." The words landed like a slap. I blinked. The gift box suddenly felt very heavy in my hands. "What?" "I flew here for 18 hours. Lower your voice." Her eyes flitted to the people passing behind me. "People are watching." "Mom, I'm your daughter." Diane took a step forward, so close that I could smell her perfume, which remained unchanged during the last 20 years, the Estee Lauder. Her voice fell to a whisper that pierced me more than any yell. "Only the family is allowed to enter. You were not invited." I stood still. The gravel crunched under my heels. A couple of 60 years old walked past me, glancing at us. The woman smiled politely. Diane smiled back. When they moved away, Diane's expression became stony again. "Not invited," I said. "I signed every agreement related to this wedding. I paid the deposit. This is not about money. This is about appropriateness." "Appropriate. Athena, please don't make a scene." Behind her, through the half-open barn doors, I could see the rows of white chairs, garlands of eucalyptus hung from the ceiling. a string quartet tuning its instruments near the altar. Everything I paid for with my signature. Frank appeared in the doorway. He looked at Diane, at me, at the ground, put his hands in his pockets, and remained silent. Totally silent. From the inside, a woman's voice called out, friendly, southern, confident. Diane, who's that? Everything all right? I saw how Diane's spine straightened. I saw how she plastered a new smile on her face, turning only half to the voice. And that voice, I would learn in the next 3 seconds, belonged to Margaret Caldwell, the groom's mother, the woman who was told my mother had only one daughter. Margaret Caldwell walked out of the barn in a lavender dress and pearls. She was tall, silver-haired, the type of woman who organized church auctions and county fundraisers and had time to arrange her own flowers. She held herself in a way which did not suggest that she ever experienced embarrassment in public, ever. Diane, everything all right here? Margaret's gaze landed on me. She smiled, openly and expectantly. Diane switched on instantly. Her voice turned honey-warm. Oh, it's nothing, Margaret. Just a distant relative who has mistaken the venue. This happens at big events. Distant relative? She said it while looking straight at me. Margaret studied my face. Oh, I thought you had only one daughter, Diane. The silence stretched for maybe 2 seconds, but seemed like 20. Diane laughed. A harsh, brittle sound. I do. This is a cousin from out of town. She's just confused about the schedule. Margaret nodded slowly, glanced at me one more time, and put her hand on Diane's arm. Well, tell her that the ceremony will start in 10 minutes. We should head inside. Margaret walked back inside. The barn doors closed gently behind her. I looked at my mother. She looked at me. In her eyes there was no guilt, no shame, no flash of, I'm sorry, I had no choice, just pure, raw, animal-like fear, the kind of which appeared when you are about to choke on a lie you've been feeding for months. A cousin, I said. Athena, please. You told them that you have only one daughter. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand. How long have you been telling people that I don't exist? She did not answer. She glanced in the direction of the parking lot as if trying to make me disappear. And that's when I understood. She was not forgetting to invite me. She was erasing me, and had been doing so for years. Every fiber of my being wanted to walk through those doors, to stand in the middle of that ceremony, and announce in front of Margaret, Garrett, and every guest of the barn, my name is Athena Sinclair. I am Diane's eldest daughter, and I paid for every flower, every plate, and every note that string quartet plays. I didn't. I looked at the barn, at fairy lights, at the garlands, at the golden glow that was leaking through the windows. I looked at my mother, blocking my way to the ceremony. I looked at my father's shadow standing by the barn door, with his shoulders hunched and his hands buried in the pockets. And I made my choice. I bent down and put the gift box on the stone step carefully, as if it was important. Keep the gift, I said. It's for Brooke. Diane's shoulders dropped a little. Relief. She thought it was over. Thank you, Athena. This gift is for the don't. I raised my hand. Don't explain. Don't justify. I heard you. I heard every word. I turned around and walked down the gravel road, past mason jars, past the newly arrived couple holding hands and chatting about the heat, past my rental car and into it. I got inside, closed the door, and cried. Not the noisy kind, the quiet kind. The kind where your chest shakes but your mouth does not make a sound. Because even if you are alone in the parking lot, you are taught not to make a scene. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, listening to the string quartet play Pachelbel's Canon through the open windows. The ceremony was starting. I started the engine and drove away, looking back at the barn through the rearview mirror, shrinking in size. I did not slam a single door. I did not raise my voice once. I just left. And for the first time, leaving was the most courageous thing I've done. Now, I bet that many of you are wondering, why didn't you just come out with it right there in front of everybody, Athena? Let me assure you that I did ask myself that very question all the way back to the hotel. But let me ask you another one. Would you have reacted differently if your mother looked you straight in the eye and called you a cousin in front of a stranger? Give me your answer in the comments. And if this story strikes a chord with you, please press the like button. It means much more to you than you think. Now, back to the story. I drove back to the Magnolia Inn on automatic pilot. The roads were empty. Everyone from Cedar Bluff attended the wedding. Inside my room, I kicked off my shoes and sat on the bed, still wearing my dress, mascara smeared on my cheeks, hands shaking. The toast I prepared was still open in my notes app. I closed it without reading it. Then I opened my laptop. 4 emails were in my inbox in the past 2 weeks. Confirmations from vendors directed to me as a contract holder. I had skimmed them upon arrival. Now I read every single line. Meadow Creek Barn contract holder, Athena Sinclair. Deposit paid $1,200. Remaining balance, $100. Due within 5 business days, post-event. Southern Comfort Catering. Contract holder, Athena Sinclair. Deposit paid $900. Remaining balance, $2,600. Due within 5 business days post-event. Blue Bonnet Floral Design. Contract holder, Athena Sinclair. Deposit paid $800. Remaining balance, $6,200. Whitaker Photography Contract holder, Athena Sinclair. Deposit paid $600. Remaining balance, $4,400. I scrolled through each one. My name, my credit card number, my signature in PDF. Every single contract was identical. Deposit upfront, payment of the remaining amount within 5 business days post-event. Total deposits already paid $3,500. Lost. Total outstanding balance $38,000. I closed the laptop, sat motionless. The barn probably had reception by this point. Toasts are being made, Diane is hugging Brooke, Garrett is twirling his bride around on the dance floor, the Caldwells are raising their glasses to their new in-laws. All of it is happening in the presence of contracts signed by someone called a cousin. I made no calls that night. I sent no emails. I just sat on that hotel bed letting the numbers repeat in my head. $38,000, my name, their celebration. My phone rang at 9:47 p.m. that night. The caller ID read, Aunt Ruth, Ruth Mercer, my mother's older sister, 62, retired school principal. The sort of woman who says what she means and has never once apologized for doing so. Diane said she was difficult. Everyone else said she was honest. Athena, where are you? I haven't seen you at the wedding. I was there, Aunt Ruth. I just didn't get past the doorway. What do you mean you didn't get past the doorway? I told her. All of it. About the locked entrance, about the whisper. Only family, the word cousin, Margaret Caldwell's question, Diane's reply, and the silence that followed on the other end of the line, which lasted a while. I heard Ruth breathing slow and careful, the way she always does when she is thinking how much anger to put into what she has to say next. She said to them, You don't exist. Ruth's voice was even, controlled, as though she were heating up a pot until it is about to boil. She says she only has one daughter. Lord have mercy. Pause. Athena, listen to me. At the reception today, your mother stood up during the toast and said, and I'm quoting her now, our little family, Frank, myself, and our Brooke. That's how your mother introduced the Sinclair family to their guests. I sat there and thought this was peculiar. I almost said something. I should have said something. This is not your fault, Aunt Ruth. No, it isn't. It's Diane's and she's getting an earful about it. Another pause. More pointed now. Athena, do you remember those vendor contracts for the wedding? They're in your name? All of them? All of them? Ruth went silent again. When she did speak, her tone was different. Angry as before, but with something else underlying that emotion. Then listen to me, child. Your mother tells an audience of people you don't exist. You don't owe them a single cent. Sunday morning. My phone buzzed with an update from Instagram. Brooke had uploaded a series of wedding pictures. 14 images in total. The first one was the 2 of them at the altar. Brooke in white lace, Garrett in a charcoal suit, the barn lit up in gold behind them. The second one was the group photograph. Frank, Diane, Brooke, Garrett, Margaret, and Richard Caldwell. 6 people, 2 families together, 1 family missing a daughter. The caption was surrounded by the faces of everyone who matters. Calwell forever. I read it 3 times. Then I checked my emails. The invoice for the venue had come in. Automated message. Cheery as anything, with a little barn icon at the top. Thank you for choosing Meadow Creek Barn. Your remaining balance of $14,800 is due by Thursday, March 6th. Underneath the invoice for the venue, there were invoices from the caterer, the florist, the photographer, all stamped on Saturday evening and all sent to me, Athena Sinclair. 5 days to pay. $38,000 in total. I looked at the wedding picture one more time. Everyone who matters. Then I looked at the invoices. Something shifted. Not a snap. Not a rage. Not a decision made. It was more like a lock turning. It was like a door that had been stuck for ages and was finally starting to move. I wasn't angry yet. The anger would come later, in waves and bursts, in the night and in the shower, and in the middle of meetings that I wouldn't be able to concentrate on. Right now, in the hotel room, on Sunday morning in Cedar Bluff, Tennessee, I felt something simpler. Clarity. I was the only person who paid for the wedding. I was the only one who wasn't in any of the pictures. I was the only one receiving invoices for an event I had been locked out of. Something had to give, and it wasn't going to be me. Not this time. Sunday afternoon. My phone rang with a voicemail from Brooke. Not a call. She was trying to leave the message. I played the voicemail. Hey, Athena. So the wedding was amazing. Just really perfect. The barn looked really nice, and Garrett's family was so sweet. But anyway, sorry things were weird between us yesterday. Mom says it's for the best. And in all honesty, she might be right. There's a lot to explain, but I just wanted to thank you for handling all of the vendors. Seriously, you're the best, big sis. We should catch up soon. Love you. I played the voicemail again. Sorry things were weird. Not sorry your mother turned me away at the door. Not sorry I didn't stand up for you. Not that. I had no idea I would have done that. Mom says it's for the best. Brooke knew. She knew before the wedding. She knew that Diane would turn me away, and she agreed with it. She probably planned it. And then the last line of the message. You're the best, big sis. I used to like to hear that. It made me feel important, like all the sacrifices meant something. But listening to it in the hotel room, my eyes still swollen from crying, the mascara smudged on the pillowcase. I heard it differently. She calls me that when she needs something. Only when she needs something. I didn't call her back. I didn't send any message. I put my phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. The invoices were due in 4 days. My family had publicly told 120 people I don't exist, and my sister had recorded a voicemail telling me, "Thanks for paying." I had 4 days to figure out what I'm going to be. Sunday night, Magnolia Inn. The game show couple next door had checked out. The corridor was eerily quiet. I sat cross-legged on the bed with my computer in front of me. I started typing. Am I legally responsible for vendor contracts signed for someone else's event? The answers were the same. The person whose name is on the contract holds the legal obligation, but the person who is named on the contract holds the power. I could authorize the payments, I could deny them, I could redirect the invoices to the party that received the service. I picked up my phone and called Meadow Creek Barn. 3 rings. Meadow Creek, this is Julie. Hi, Julie. My name is Athena Sinclair, and I am the contract holder for the Caldwell Sinclair event that was held on Saturday. Oh yes, Miss Sinclair. Beautiful event. What can I do for you? I want to inform you that I will not be authorizing the payment of this contract. I wasn't present at the event, and I'm requesting that the outstanding amount be redirected to the event hosts. A pause. Oh, okay. Can I ask, is there some dispute? No dispute. I'm just not authorizing the charge. It should go to the Sinclair family in Cedar Bluff. Julie took my email address, confirmed the information, and told me someone would get back to me in the morning. I put the phone down and called the caterer. Same procedure, same voice, same results, and then the florist, then the photographer. 4 calls, 12 minutes total. I didn't yell, I didn't threaten, I didn't explain why. I simply kept repeating one word: no. When I was done, I closed my computer, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep, which I hadn't done in 2 days. Monday morning, I changed my flights. Instead of staying in America until Wednesday, I got the earliest available flight to London. Departure 600 a.m. via Atlanta. I packed in 10 minutes, checked out of the Magnolia Inn before the sunrise. The same front desk woman was working. She smiled and asked me, "How was the wedding?" "Memorable," I replied. The drive to Nashville took 2 hours. On the way, I drove through Cedar Bluff for the last time. Empty Main Street, just a diner, the hardware store, the Baptist church where I was baptized at 12. I drove past the house I grew up in. The porch light was still on. I could imagine what was happening inside. Diane at the kitchen table with coffee, fresh from the reception. Frank reading the newspaper. The house full of the leftovers of the wedding cake and the congratulation cards. My name mentioned not once. When I was 10, Diane told me, "Athena, you're the big sister. You have to be strong for Brooke." I've been strong for 24 years. I've been strong through Brooke's childhood disease, through meningitis that reshaped our whole family dynamic. I've been strong through every financial crisis, through every unanswered call, through each and every holiday I spent alone in London, pretending that it's because of the time difference, not the distance. I drove onto the highway and didn't look back. It took me 18 hours to get to Heathrow. Drizzly gray sky, the most beautiful weather in the world. I turned on my phone in the arrivals corridor. No missed calls, no messages. None of the people in Cedar Bluff had even noticed I was gone, but they would very soon. The vendors would start calling by Tuesday. Invoices would come on Wednesday, and then my phone would ring. I was sure of that. Tuesday, 3:00 p.m., London time, 9:00 a.m., Tennessee. My phone rang. Mom's number was on the display. It rang 3 times. Then I answered the phone. "Athena." "Hello, honey." Light, sweet voice. "How is your flight back?" "Fine. Listen, I just got the strangest call from the venue. They say you took off your payment authorization. It's $38,000. What should we do?" "We will do nothing, Mom. You will do something." A pause. "Excuse me. You have taken off the authorization because you aren't responsible for the event you weren't invited to." "Athena, stop being dramatic. You know, this is just a misunderstanding. We can talk about it. You told Margaret Caldwell that I'm a distant relative. You told her you have one daughter. This is not a misunderstanding, Mom. This is a choice." Longer pause now. I could hear her breath change, the light evaporating. "After everything I've done for you," she said, "this is how you repay me. You raised me. I'm grateful for that. But you also stood in front of your daughter and told a stranger that she doesn't exist. Those two things can both be true. This is ridiculous. $38,000. This is ridiculous. Your father is stressed. His blood pressure is. If something happens to him, it'll be on you." Frank did nothing. He made his choice too. A pause. I could hear her swallowing. "You said I'm not family," I said. "Therefore, the family pays the family's bills." The call ended with the click of the phone hanging up. Silence. I placed the phone on the kitchen counter and looked at it. My hand didn't shake. My heartbeat was normal. The apartment was quiet, very quiet for the first time in months. She called me back 40 minutes later. Different tone this time. No honey, no sweetness. Full throttle. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes. The venue is calling me. The caterer is calling me. I'm getting invoices forwarded to my email with your name crossed out and mine written in. Do you know how humiliating that is? I imagine it's about as humiliating as being called a cousin at your own sister's wedding. That is not the same thing. You're right. Yours costs $38,000. I raised you. I fed you. I drove you to school every single day for 12 years. And now, because of one little misunderstanding, you're going to bankrupt your own family. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Fine. Fine. Athena, you want to play this game? I'll tell everyone. I'll tell the whole town what kind of daughter abandons her family over money. Go ahead. I'd rather be the daughter you badmouth than the daughter you pretend doesn't exist. That stopped her. I heard her pull in a breath. Sharp, involuntary, like she'd walked into cold water. You don't mean that, she said. Quieter now. I do. Another long pause. Then the final weapon. The one she always keeps in reserve. Your father could have a heart attack over this. If he ends up in the hospital, that blood is on your hands. There it was. The trump card. Dad's health. The guilt grenade. She'd thrown it at me when I moved to London, when I skipped Thanksgiving, when I stopped sending money without being asked. Dad's health is between him and his doctor, I said. Not me and my credit card. She hung up again. This time I didn't stare at the phone. I put the kettle on and made a cup of tea. By Wednesday, Diane had activated what I call the family phone tree. Every branch, every twig. Brooke called first, crying. The big, messy, theatrical kind she's perfected since childhood. Athena, please. Garrett and I just got married. We don't have $38,000. If you don't pay, we have to. We're starting our lives together and you're ruining it. Brooke, did you know Mom told the Caldwells I don't exist? A sniffle, a pause. I mean, she said it would be easier that way with the Caldwells. You know, they're traditional and having a daughter overseas who's not married and easier. It wasn't personal, Athena. It was just simpler. You knew before the wedding. I didn't think they'd actually turn you away, but you didn't stop them. Silence. More sniffling. Then can we please just focus on the bill? Garrett's parents are asking questions. Then maybe it's time someone gave them honest answers. She hung up. Frank called that afternoon. My father almost never calls. He emails once in a while. Short, factual messages about weather or football scores. Hearing his voice on the phone felt strange, like picking up an old tool you'd forgotten you owned. Athena, your mother is very upset. I know. Can you be flexible on this for the family? Dad, did you know she told people I'm not your daughter? A long exhale. The sound of a man who spent 35 years choosing the path of least resistance. That's not exactly what happened. Were you there when she called me a distant relative right in front of me? Nothing. Then very quietly, a click. He hung up. Every single one of them hung up when the questions got real. I was starting to see a pattern, and it looked a lot like a family that preferred silence to truth. Aunt Ruth didn't wait for permission. She never has. Thursday morning, the same day the vendor invoices were due, Ruth picked up her phone and called Margaret Caldwell directly. She got the number from the wedding program she'd kept in her purse. Classic Ruth. I wasn't on the call. Ruth told me about it afterward, and she didn't spare details. Margaret, my name is Ruth Mercer. I'm Diane Sinclair's older sister. We met briefly at the reception. Oh yes, Ruth. Lovely to hear from you. I'm calling because there's something you need to know. Diane has 2 daughters, not 1, 2. The older one is Athena. She's 34, lives in London, works in technology. She's the one who signed every vendor contract for that wedding. Every single one. And on Saturday, Diane stopped her at the door and told her to leave. Ruth said the silence on Margaret's end lasted a full 10 seconds. I beg your pardon, Margaret said. The woman Diane introduced as a distant relative, that was her firstborn daughter. Athena flew 18 hours to be there. She paid the deposit out of her own pocket. And Diane turned her away because she'd been telling your family the Sinclairs only had 1 child. Margaret's voice went cold. Thin. The kind of cold that comes from a woman who prides herself on knowing exactly who she's doing business with. Why would Diane do that? You'd have to ask her. But I can tell you this, that girl flew 18 hours, signed every check, and got turned away like a stranger at the door, and she still didn't make a scene. That's more grace than my sister deserves. Ruth said Margaret thanked her, said she needed to make some calls, and hung up. The fuse was lit, and Cedar Bluff was a very small town. I didn't ask Aunt Ruth to make that call, but when she told me she had, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. I felt seen. For the first time, someone in my family said out loud, "What happened to you was wrong." I want to ask you something. Has anyone ever been that person for you? The one who broke the silence when no one else would? Or are you still waiting? Tell me in the comments and subscribe if you want to hear how this ends. Back to the story. Thursday afternoon, I sat at my desk in my London apartment with a fresh cup of Earl Grey and systematically closed every open account. I emailed each vendor: Meadow Creek Barn, Southern Comfort Catering, Blue Bonnet Floral, Whitaker Photography. The message was identical for all four, written with the precision of someone who writes technical documentation for a living. Dear vendor name, this email serves as formal notice that I, Athena Sinclair, the undersigned contract holder, do not authorize any further charges to my credit card on file. I am formally requesting that all outstanding invoices be redirected to the event organizers, the Sinclair family of Cedar Bluff, Tennessee. Please confirm receipt of this notice. Regards, Athena Sinclair. 4 emails, 4 confirmations within the hour. The vendors were polite, professional, and clearly not surprised. Julie from Meadow Creek even replied, "Understood, Miss Sinclair. We've updated our records." I called my bank next, canceled the card linked to the contracts, ordered a replacement with a new number. $38,000 in outstanding charges would now route directly to the people who'd thrown the party. The deposits, $3,500, were gone. Paid months ago, non-refundable. I accepted that. Combined with my travel costs, the flights, the hotel, the gift, I was out $6,300. I sat with that number, $6,300. The price of learning that I was never going to be enough for them. That no amount of signing, paying, flying, or showing up would earn me a seat at a table they'd built without a chair for me. $6,300. Honestly, it was a bargain. I closed my laptop, rinsed my mug, and went for a walk along the Thames. The river was gray, the air was sharp, and I felt for the first time in years like I owed nothing to anyone. Friday morning, one last thing. I opened a new email. Recipients: Diane Sinclair, Frank Sinclair, Brooke Caldwell. I drafted it once, deleted it. Drafted again. Too emotional. Deleted. Third attempt. Clean, direct, no adjectives I didn't need. Diane, Frank, and Brooke. I have formally removed my payment authorization from all vendor contracts associated with Brooke's wedding. The outstanding balance of $38,000 has been redirected to you as the event hosts. I will not be discussing this further. I wish Brooke and Garrett a wonderful marriage. Going forward, please do not contact me regarding financial matters. If any of you want a relationship with me, it starts with honesty, not invoices. Athena. I read it 4 times, checked for typos, checked the tone, made sure there was nothing in it that could be called petty, vindictive, or cruel. There wasn't. It was a boundary, clean as a line on a map. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop, put on the kettle, and stood by the window. My apartment overlooks a small courtyard with a plane tree that drops its leaves all over the neighbor's bicycle. It's not much, but it's mine. I pay the rent. I chose the curtains. Nobody here has ever told me I don't belong. For months, maybe years, I'd been carrying a weight I couldn't name. The constant calculation: am I doing enough? Am I giving enough? If I send more money, call more often, fly home one more time, will they finally see me? Standing in that kitchen holding a cup of tea I made for myself in an apartment I earned with work I'm proud of, I felt the weight lift. I didn't write that email to hurt them. I wrote it so I'd stop hurting myself. Aunt Ruth kept me updated. She said she tried not to enjoy it, but she's a terrible liar. Margaret Caldwell called Diane the same afternoon Ruth dropped the truth. The conversation relayed to Ruth by a mutual friend who happened to be at Margaret's house when the call was made went about how you'd expect. "You lied to us, Diane." Margaret's voice was steady, not loud. "The Caldwells don't do loud. You told us you had one daughter. We welcomed your family into ours based on trust. That trust is broken." Diane tried to explain. "It was a private family matter. Athena and I have been estranged." "Estranged?" Ruth says, "Your daughter signed every contract for this wedding. That's not estranged. That's exploited." Margaret told Diane that the Caldwells would not be covering the $38,000. "That's between you and your vendors. We didn't sign those contracts. Apparently, neither did you." Garrett confronted Brooke that evening. This piece came to Ruth from Garrett's cousin, who heard it through the Caldwell grapevine because Cedar Bluff only has one grapevine and everyone is on it. "You have a sister," Garrett told me. "A real sister. And she paid for our whole wedding and your mother disowned her." Brooke cried. "It's complicated, babe." "It's not complicated, Brooke. It's a lie. Your family lied to my family on our wedding day. This newlywed's first fight with her husband happened on the 4th day of their marriage. Because of a sister the groom didn't know about, and a bill they couldn't afford. Brooke and Garrett would end up taking out a personal loan for the $38,000. The Caldwells were involved in co-signing the loan, not because they wanted to help, but because their name was on the event and they didn't want the vendors to come after them. This fairy tale wedding would now have monthly payments. Cedar Bluff is the kind of town where by Tuesday everyone knows your business, and by Wednesday they have an opinion on it. Within the next week, the news spread through the Baptist church, Main Street diner, PTA, and auto dealership lobby. The details changed a little bit every time because details do change when they're passed down, but the core of the story remained the same. Diane Sinclair hid her eldest daughter, turned her away at the wedding, and sent her a bill. Bev Henderson, Diane's 19-year neighbor, stopped her in the church parking lot after Sunday service. "Diane, I had no idea you had 2 girls. Why haven't I met your older daughter?" Diane recited the script she's been preparing. "Athena lives overseas. We're not as close as I'd like. It's a difficult topic." Bev nodded slowly. Ruth tells a slightly different story. Diane stopped attending that church. She went to a different church town over, where people didn't know the Sinclairs by name. Frank was quieter than usual. He stopped going to the hardware store on Saturdays and stopped sitting on the porch in the evenings. Frank became someone people saw walking around with a burden he couldn't unload. Diane blamed Ruth, called her one morning with a shaking voice. "You destroyed my family." Ruth's answer, as she told me later, was brief. "I didn't expose you, Diane. I just stopped covering for you." Diane hung up, added Ruth to the list of family members she stopped talking to. And the thing Diane worked hard on all her life, an image of a devoted mother with a perfect little family, began falling apart. Not because anyone was attacking it. It fell apart because someone finally told the truth. 2 weeks after the wedding, I got a text from Brooke. Long, rambling, I could almost hear her crying while writing it. "Athena, I'm so sorry about everything. It all got out of control. I didn't know Mom was going to say those things to the Caldwells. I swear Garrett is angry with me. His parents barely look at me. The loan payments start next month and we're already behind on the apartment deposit. I know this is a lot to ask, but could you cover part of the balance, even half? I'll pay you back. I promise. You're my sister and I love you, and I just need help right now." I read the text sitting at my desk during a lunch break, then read it a second time and a third time, looking for something specific. An apology for turning me away. An acknowledgement of knowing what happened and not stopping it. Just one sentence saying, "What happened to you at the door was wrong." It wasn't there. Everything in the message was about Brooke's problems. Garrett's anger, the loan, the apartment, the Caldwell's cold shoulders. No mention of my pain. It was a crisis update, disguised as an apology. She apologized for the mess, not for the wound. There's a difference. I answered her text carefully. "Brooke, I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am, but I can't help financially. The boundary I established isn't about money. It's about being treated like family. Real family, not the kind that can be erased when it becomes inconvenient. When you're ready to talk about it and not invoices, I'm here." I sent it. Put my phone in my desk drawer, went back to work. She didn't answer. Not that day, not that week. I wasn't surprised. She had no clue what to do with me when I wasn't giving her something. 1 month after the wedding, I got an email from Frank. My father does email. He calls once in a blue moon, and when he does, he talks about the weather or the Titans' defensive line. He's never written me anything longer than a birthday card in my 34 years of life. When I saw his name in my inbox with the subject line, "From Dad," I straightened in my chair. "Athena, I know I should have said something that day at the barn. I didn't. I stood there like a post while your mother was handling it, and I didn't open my mouth. I don't have any good reasons. I was a coward. That's the truth. Your mother and I are working with the vendors on the bill. We don't need your money. I'm writing to you because I wanted to let you know. I'm sorry. I should have walked you inside. I'll carry that. Dad, I read the email 5 times. Read it at my desk on the train ride home and once more sitting on my couch with the lights off. It wasn't perfect. It didn't fix anything. He didn't confront Diane. He didn't demand an apology. He didn't explain why he was spending his life picking peace over his own daughter, but it was honest. And it was the first honest thing anyone in my family said to me after all this. I didn't answer immediately. I needed some time. 1 week later, I answered him. Dad, thank you. That means more to me than you know. I'm not ready to come home or to pretend everything is fine, but I read your email and I'll keep reading it. Athena, short, careful email, leaving the door open exactly 1 inch. Not wide enough to be walked through, but not locked either. He didn't answer back. I didn't expect him to, but he said it and I heard it. 6 months have passed since that Saturday at Meadow Creek Barn. I got promoted to senior software engineer position in the fintech company I've been working for the past 4 years. My boss cited my leadership under pressure in my performance review. She didn't know the half of it. I've been seeing a therapist, not because of the wedding, because of the 34 years before it. We've been unpacking something she calls functional over-responsibility. The belief that if I perform well enough, sacrifice enough, carry enough, the people I love will finally see me. It was the engine driving me through all the checks, flights, and saying fine when I meant it. I video call my Aunt Ruth every other Sunday. She makes coffee, I make tea, and we talk for an hour about everything and nothing. She keeps me updated on Cedar Bluff, not to gossip, but so I'm not taken by surprise. Diane and Frank paid off $12,000 of 38, used a chunk of their retirement savings. The rest is on the loan Brooke and Garrett took out. Monthly payments are causing tension in Caldwell-Sinclair family. Garrett's parents are civil but distant. Margaret hasn't forgiven Diane. Brooke and Garrett are still married. Ruth says they're in counseling. She says, Garrett is a decent man trying, but the foundation was cracked on day 1, and cracks like that don't heal easily. Diane hasn't called me, hasn't emailed me, and hasn't even sent a text. Ruth says that she calls the situation my tantrum. I suppose that's easier than calling it what it is. I don't hate my mother. I've spent many hours in therapy making sure of it, but I stopped pretending that her version of love didn't hurt. It did. Pretending it otherwise was slowly killing me, check by check. I'm not telling you this story to make you hate my mother. She's flawed. She's scared. She created an image of a perfect family because the real one wasn't good enough for her. And somehow along the way, I became the piece of that family that didn't fit the frame. That's not an excuse. It's just what happened. And I think growing up involves accepting the fact that the people who raised you are people struggling with their own fears and failures. But I am telling you this story because maybe you are living it. Maybe you're the one flying 18 hours, literally or metaphorically, to attend people who won't hold the door open for you. Maybe you're the one signing the checks, covering the costs, tolerating the silence, and calling it love because you don't know what else to call it. I've done it for many years. I called it duty. I called it family. I called it being the bigger person. And each time I signed a check or accepted an insult or pretended the empty chair at the table didn't bother me, I lost a little piece of myself. A boundary isn't punishment. It's not revenge. It's not a weapon. A boundary is when you finally say, I'm worth more than this. And then you act like it. $38,000. That's what my freedom cost. And I don't regret paying a single penny of it. If you're the one paying emotionally, financially, spiritually for a place at the table that was never designed for you, maybe it's time for you to build your own table and sit at the head of it. I didn't lose my family that day at Meadow Creek Barn. I found myself, and honestly, she was worth the wait. Thank you for sticking with this one until the end. It means a lot to me. I want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have paid the $38,000 or draw the line? Drop pay or boundary in the comments. I'll read every single one. If this story made you feel something real, please like and subscribe. I share stories like this every week about family, boundaries, and finding your voice when people closest to you try to silence it. And if you want more, check the description for the story I think you'll connect with. I'll see you in the next one.